Jeffrey Dahmer soaked in blood. The Unabomber blowing up. Waco, Texas, and Heaven's Gates. Aliens modified, meant for apes. Hitler faked his death and then escaped. Bigfoot and the Mothman. Son of Sam talking to dogs again. Witches, ghosts, and goblins. Mysterious noise and hauntings. Dark arts in the skull and bones. Most celebrities are probably cloned. So if you're feeling all alone, crack a beer and get stoned. I welcome you to the podcast Strange Brew. We're here to entertain you. We're here to entertain you.
It's about to get strange.
Welcome back, everybody, to the show. You know me. I am Tomcat, a.k.a. Tom Thompson, the Reptilian, and I have a very special guest, Dr. Christoper Macklin. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Is a highly respected as a UFO expert, medical intuitive, remote viewer, a spiritual teacher, and energetic healer for his works in assisting people in achieving their optimal spiritual, mental, and emotional and physical health. His work addresses a wide range of mind, body, and spirit imbalances to all overall wellness, which is also well received and resonates with the general public who have been you've experienced a lot of weird things throughout your life, and I would love to hear about it. I'm going to give you the floor. I want you to kind of just tell the audience kind of who you are, what you're about. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, Tom, thanks for having me on. Bless you all. Well, it's a bit of a story. So going back to when I was born, don't forget the starseeds. We'll talk about them later. So starseeds, I was born as a starseed, and Melchizedek being. So, of course, 2 days after I was born, I had 8 strokes. Then when I was 4, I burnt my back so badly that I was in hospital for another year. So that's 2 years in hospital by the age of 4. Great. Yeah. Do I have abandonment issues now? Let me see. Oh, that'd be it, yeah. Anyway, and it was interesting because when I was 4, when I came back out of hospital, I had some events. My father, let's be nice about it. He's a crabby old shit, So, and he was very angry at that time. So, when I came home, I saw a reptilian in the corner. What the heck's that? And you can feel it was an Anunnaki. I realised, but at the time it's some sort of dinosaur thing, in the corner of the room. I said, Dad, there's a thing in the corner of the room, and he comes running up, what's the matter, and there's nothing here. And I go, oh, he can't see it. I can see these things, and I didn't realize until then. So anyway, he left.
You had a specific feeling, like you saw this thing, and obviously it planted such a memory into your consciousness that you remembered it years and years later. Because I've seen I've seen shadow people that I truly believe was some sort of reptilian type creature, because the outline of what it looked like reminded me of the depictions of reptilians, and it was terrifying. I was 19 at the time. Terrifying.
Well, you can feel the darkness in your chest. You know they're real because wow, this thing's dark. And so when he'd left, I said, get out of my room. It went, and the universal laws, the keys of Enoch, universal laws is if you have the intent, like, get out of my space, it has to go. So it went, oh, that worked, And so from then I realized I could manage them even at the age of 4, because I had this power, like, get out of my room, and now we have maps of intent prayers, to get rid of them. I like the word map of intent because, I'm not a Christian. I love Jesus' teachings, but, long story. So
same, I understand that.
So anyway, so saw these reptilians, and then things happen. I saw ships in the sky. Dad, there's a ship in the sky. Where? So, and I can see through the veil. So you saw ships, you saw reptilians, you saw things attached to people. But then I kind of shut it down, and I went through school, severely dyslexic. You might say, well, how the heck do you write 6 books? I'll tell you about that later. But anyway, so moving on, got through school, and then I got sponsored to do a degree, and of course my father said, you're too thick to get a degree. Ooh, right, I'm going to get one. So I got one. Too thick to get a master's. Ooh, I'm going to get one of those as well. And then I got really top jobs, within software, because, in 1980, 6, 7, software was just up and coming. You couldn't get enough software engineers. I'm not that old, by the way. This year I'm 62, but I asked God for discount. I said, can I have some discount? Yeah, 30 years, okay. So I'm 32, so, I'm pretty young still. So, I just dyed my hair metallic silver just to make it look older. It's the thing. So anyway, so I went in corporate system and hated it. Earned a ton of money, I was at the top of Philips Consumer Electronics. I was at the top of Marconi. I was working with British Aerospace on flight control systems, earning a ton of money. And I thought, is this it? Is this it? There's got to be more than this in this world. Oh, I found out. So what happens with all the money, of course, I'm building houses and we refurb them, make a lot of money from that as well. And then there's this bright idea. Let's go to Manchester. Let's build 176 apartments. Oh, that's a kind of Trump type thing, way beyond me. So I bought the land and, of course, started doing things. And in 2007, I remember the bank phone. Well, these apartments that were worth £220,000 are now worth like 90. We want our money back. You got 14 days to pay it. And I'm going, this is millions of pounds. It's not just like,
Yeah.
And I was going, well, I said, look, I've got £10, which is like $13. Will that help? And they didn't seem to see the funny side. So I completely went bankrupt. They snatched all the stuff back, took our house, marriage collapse, everything else. So I'm sitting in the middle of Manchester in an apartment that someone lent me for a month, thinking, what's happened? I've got two like Tesco's bags with a few pantaloons and a shirt and some trousers, and that's it. And we call it Walmart over here, of course. And I said, okay. I talked to the Melchizedek beings and God. I said, this is not funny. I worked for 21 years, done all this work, and this is all I've got. And I said, it's the right time. I said, what do you mean it's the right time? It's the right time, you'll see. And I went on a journey, incredible journey. I went to India. I went all over Europe.
So you started traveling?
Oh, yeah. And I was sponsored by somebody who, was in the Knights Templar, who helped me at the time, but, I detached from them eventually. But they sponsored me to go to India twice, went to Belize, went all over Europe. And I started, it gave me time because I signed on unemployment. It gave me about 4 years to understand how, what I was, why I'm here. And I meditated. I remember going to Belize and I went on a Mayan temple called Chet Antivich. Now, the Mayans create temples that are very powerful. They sit on the ley lines. They're very powerful energetic vessels. I was sitting on top of that and they showed me visions. When I got back to the hotel room, I could literally see in the hotel room like a 3D vision, but it was actually in the room, according to me, of what my past lives were. And so I was doing that. I was doing that. So,
as a question, so did you? Because I'm a fan of psychedelics. I've used magic mushrooms many times. Psilocybin helped my mental health. So you were getting these visions just being sober, like you connected to something.
Oh, completely sober, yeah. But the energy in these structures are huge. Huge.
I've heard.
So you get the psychedelics. That's the thing. If you really get your vibration up there, you'll get that effect from the God source rather than other I have no issue with people taking psychedelics. It helps them, like you say. But, I had none of that. But, I could see these visions. They showed me past lives and what I'm meant to be doing now. And so I focused on the healing side. So I spent about, I would say, 4 years and meditated. They showed me cause and effect, how things work, even with everything, cancers, Can
I ask you what was, do you have a memorable past life, something that you saw during these visions that is stuck out to you more than others? Because I know someone like through my wife and stuff like that who's had like the meditative experience of using a medium, and she shot out of her body and then shot back down, and she saw like a lot of her past lives. And one of them, she was like a black woman working on a plantation, and her daughter was her sister in that life, and she swears by it and believes what she saw.
Well, I know my past lives, from that, and they've. I mean, I'm a Melchizedek being, so there's,
What does that mean? I've never heard that before.
Melchizedek is from the ultimate dimension. They're here to help people, and they work very closely with the Actorians. So okay. I came down here actually to do a job, and I realized, and that's the Pyramid Project, which is up and coming. I mean, awesome. We talk about that if we don't do it in this one.
Stuff, man. That's cool. I love
the Pyramid Project's huge. It's going to cost probably about $200 billion. It's way out of my league, but we've got bankers and white hat, generals in place, that are actually all connected. That have told the people in charge, like, you need to do this pyramid project. It's essential for humanity right now. So anyway, I realized that, looked at my past lives. Can I tell you what they are? I can't, because I promised in this lifetime I'd never tell people. But, if you want to know it, meditate and ask, what was my, I often say, if you want to know my past life, does it matter really? Because, it doesn't matter who you are then. It actually matters what you're doing now, to me.
Yeah, I agree.
So anyway, I learned all this stuff and fast-track methods of actually getting rid of emotion and everything else. And so, I really started focused on the healing. I came here in 2010 to America because, England's really dark. Like, it's the hub of the Illuminati, so to speak. So anyway, I came here, started trekking around America as well, and, got received really well, did lots of healings. And we work on probably about 2,000 people a week. We've got general groups, we've got specialized groups, and we've got one-to-ones, and we also have a protocol to get rid of, the stuff in your body, Anyway, so
awesome.
So then I moved forward, and of course came here, build it, they'll come. So I said, okay, so I opened the office. Nothing happened. Waited 3 months, nothing happened. I said, okay, build it, they'll come. What's wrong? And they said, it's within, get out there. Oh, okay. So I started, because I didn't have any money when I came here. I was potentially broke, well, not broke, I just had no money, So I used to go to like a spirit fair and, pay $100 for a thing. I was slam busy, and I thought, no one knows me. Why am I slam busy? And I realized it's about your energy. People are attracted to your energy. So anyway, I went to them and earned some money, and then, in 2017 became American citizen. And as we got bigger, I could afford bigger events, like, for example, Conscious Life Expo and these things. They cost a lot of money to go to.
Yeah, that's cool, because I'm a fan. Some people are weary about him, but I'm a fan of David Wilcock. I've read all of his books, and he's gone and done talks at places like that. I'm pretty sure the same expo, and that's pretty incredible. Those are the things I would love to try to get more involved in. They were doing one near the city that I live in Canada, and then it got big enough where they started going to Toronto and stuff like that. And I've always wanted to kind of push towards that, but even with this show, I'm so busy. I couldn't imagine how busy you are trying to get everything set up and all the stuff that was going on at the time.
Well, that's why now we have 10 staff. I remember taking the first person, staff on, because, we're getting so busy. You need people to book, these sessions. You need people, you produce sheets. We've got the protocol, which we, strips all stuff out of your body. We've got a specialized group, and people want feedback. So we've got about 10 staff. We've got Dawna, who does the PR. We've got a lady who helps with, with the books and everything else. So, but I remember taking the first person, oh, can I afford it? Whoa, hang on, I'm being third dimensional. Of course we can afford it. God's got our back. So took that person on, and it was such a relief, because they took a lot of the things on. Now I don't do anything except healings. We've got an IT guy who comes in, charges whatever, $100 an hour, fixes all the IT. Can I do it myself? Yeah, but I don't want to, because I don't enjoy it, so if anyone's looking,
what type of healing do you do? Is it kind of in the same sense as like Reiki and stuff like that, where you're moving around energies with your own energy? Because I'd love to hear a little more about kind of the healing aspect of. You obviously don't have to give away your secrets or anything, but I'm curious.
No, I don't mind telling people. We actually use portaling systems. So what we do is, I work with the Melchizedek beings, and what we do is psychic surgery. They can go in your body and actually do things, as opposed to just sending a bit of energy. So it's kind of quite beyond, I think, Reiki, but so if you put like 8 portals around people, bond it into a Merkaba field, which has 8 points. If anyone doesn't know what a Merkaba field, it's one of those. So put 27 straight Merkaba fields around people to protect them, so that the entities around it, which are in the same space but different time, they can try and interfere with the healing. So once we've done that, the Melchizedek beings can come through the ultimate dimension and start doing things to your body. Now, one of the things I learned about healing is that you can't just say, go and heal them. I said, well, heal what? You've got to, with the universe and with, off-planet beings, you've got to be specific, because the whole point about us coming down here as starseeds is to help. And so, you've got to understand, like, okay, this person's got a fatty liver, and I can remote view into people's body. Oh, you've got a fatty liver. Your kidneys look really grey. Your adrenals are messed up. Your pancreas isn't producing enough enzymes, so that's why you got digestive. Or maybe you've got an entity, and if you've got an entity attachment, it causes a lot of issues. Like it'll, Anunnaki draconian, they sit in the abdomen, hang on the shoulders, tap in the lower back, they damage the L4, L5 disc, send you negative thoughts. So, of course, your lower abdomen's paralyzed. So when you eat, as it gets further down, it backs up because your lower intestine is working about a third of the speed of the upper stomach. So, of course, you get bloated, feel it blur, all the time, not absorbing nutrients. You can burn holes in the intestinal lining called leaky gut. Gets worse, becomes pockets in the intestinal lining called diverticulitis. So that's just an example. So it's looking at all these things, but to me, the primary cause...
When I was using the Ouija board, like when I was younger, very young, using this and not knowing really what I was doing, and I would first thought I was contacting people that were dead, right? And then essentially, as I got older and I read more and more, I was reading all the time, and I was 16 or 17, and my aunt, she was from Jamaica, told me never to use it by myself, so I started using it, and I remember at one point it told me that I had 9 spirits attached to me, and some were good and some were bad. And I've never went through any sort of cleansing. At some point in my life, I would love to. Like, I really want to go to a psychic. My wife's been someone who's legit that I know I can trust to be able to kind of, because I know I'm going to break down, to be honest. Like, I know that I've had a lot of stuff in my head and a lot of bad experiences throughout my life as a teenager and growing up rough and in and out of, like, jail as just a youth doing dumb things, stealing a bike, stuff like that. So I learned very quickly as I became an adult. When I was a kid, I always say, but do you believe that there can also be positive forces that are trying to push against those negative ones that are maybe attached to a personality that might be like mine, where I'm kind of outgoing, I'm very outspoken, I thought about things way differently than everybody else around me? Like, people could classify me as a starseed just considering how I've been so into this stuff and aware of what was going on, of the evil and stuff, way before I could understand what it was.
Oh, yeah, and I think, when you learn about this stuff, people often say to me, well, yeah, I know the government's a bit, corrupt, but, everything else seems okay. Is it that bad? Oh, you have no idea. I mean, everything's hijacked. The air, food, government, children, all the departments, everything's hijacked. There's nothing that's not hijacked. And you're kind of thinking, wow, this is crazy. But, but as a starseed, a lot of people are very lonely. You have very few friends who get you because they think you're nuts. Yeah. I mean, I remember going out with a couple of people, Southern Baptist, and they say, what do you do for a living? Oh, no. I do healing. Is it in the name of the Lord?
Of course, yeah.
Well, kind of, and then I said, oh, let's just tell them. So yeah. Here it is, blah, and suddenly you could see the fluoride stare appear and never invite us out again. It's not, it's just they're educated. But yeah, I think 100%. The thing is about starseeds is this, because when you're born, they know you're a starseed. They know your past lives, these reptilian beings. And if they don't like you, they're going to attack you relentlessly, to try and dumb you down. They're going to attach to you, to make you depressed. And it's up to us to understand that, and there's been a lot of people ask me, well, isn't that a violation of the human race? No. Why is that? Because before you come down here, you're getting, God says, look, I want volunteers. So I'll do it because, up there, you're feeling great, sipping champagne, doing what you like.
This is a lesson. I've always thought
that
we're here to learn.
Do you want to go down this classroom and help? Oh, yeah, of course I do, You get in God's queue. What I tell people is, in the future, if God wants volunteers, pretend you're going to get diarrhea, run to the toilet, lock the door, and don't come out until all the volunteers are done. Because this is a hard lesson. But anyway, I'm just joking. I love it down here.
It's hard.
And I think, once you get to that God space where I call it the, in quotes, couldn't give a shit explodes. Yeah. So you don't care whether people talk about you behind your back. Who cares? You find a few people, very few people. People say, well, you must have loads of friends. I don't. I have very few friends, but the friends I have are so close. They'd be there in an instant if something happened, and they're very few, but they hold the space for you. You can have a night, you're not teaching them, they're not dragging the energy out of you, they're not talking
quality
about themselves.
Over quantity.
They're just having a laugh, Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's really important. Set your boundaries, because otherwise you're going to get the life sucked out of you. But
and
I think,
I've noticed that, and I just want to kind of explain that, like, I'm very angry about the state of the world, and I'm very outspoken. I've gained quite a bit of a following for me, kind of trying to wake people up about what's going on and how corrupt the government is, and it worries me at some points because, like, obviously I'm probably on some sort of watch list or something just by merely saying my opinion about how corrupt and evil the government actually is, and people don't acknowledge it. And this is, as I'm getting older, I'm now 32. I'm really trying to find that space, because I become obsessed with this stuff where I'm constantly reading as much as I can all the time, and then it gets disheartening, and it weighs on me in a lot of ways that even the fans of the show probably don't understand, because I'm always reading, looking into stuff, and it's hard to find that balance of, okay, there's something really wrong here and something needs to be done. We need to wake people up, but I want to know kind of your take, because you seem very positive, and I get weird sensations. I've had a psychic at an alien expo tell me about this. I get the kind of back of the head, like hair standing on my neck. We're talking to you, which I don't get that often, and it's interesting. It is interesting because I'm making the fans aware that I'm having this weird feeling talking to you, that I feel like the positivity and the energy even just coming through the screen. Like I can feel it, and I just kind of want to like just question you on that, of how do you find that balance where you accept kind of what's going on?
Well, don't forget, to me, Tom, if you're a starseed, you're here to do a job, and whatever that job is, you got a gift. I mean, you got a gift. You're doing the podcast, you're getting out there, you're helping people, wake up and everything else. For me, it's healing. It's the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
We're all in it together.
Yeah.
But I think the balance to me is that, look, if you get in the matrix, you're going to get sucked into it. Are you going to watch the mainstream media, all this sort of stuff, and it's all nonsense anyway. To me, I think what you got to do is be of the world, not in it. So we stay in a bubble. So I've created a bubble around me where we do fun things. We cook nice dinners, we have a laugh. When I do this, I'm on it. But when I'm not in my social life, we're just building a house 20 minutes away from here on 40 acres of land. It's all trees. When I go down there, you sit there and the trees just take your energy and absorb any angst. You think, oh, wow, I feel, you feel amazing,
That's how I feel when I'm on mushrooms, and feel connected to nature. It is a bizarre feeling.
To me, nature's it, and, I'd encourage everybody, if you've got a forest around your, trees or whatever you've got, get back to nature, because I think it's so important. We've got all this like nonsense of gaming and porn and this, that, and the other. It's just an addiction that distracts people from what's really important. And, we help people get off all these things. But I think, where's the balance? Well, I think the balance is, being in the world, doing your stuff, but then getting a reprieve from it and being out of it, where you're just in your bubble and you're having a good time with friends who hold the space for you, who you can have a laugh with, and,
it's almost like taking a break. I feel like I've had to recently take a break from constantly like reading and looking into stuff and stuff like that, where I focus more on the show and really try to do that. We talk about everything. We talked about the Khazarian Mafia recently, which like people found fascinating because people don't know a lot of maybe some of the hidden history and stuff that's going on. But one of my favorite subjects of all time is the Reptilians, and then it's just like, if the government is capable of using direct energy weapons and using HARP and all these other ways to manipulate us and condition us, or start fires or burn our world down because they want to rule over the ashes of it. That's the things that like really get on me, and I do believe that there's hope, and I'm optimistic because I see people more than I've ever seen before wake up. I was that crazy conspiracy theorist kid that was talking to people at I was used to be a chef, so I'd be like, one of my co-hosts knows this very well. He's known me since he was 16 and I was like 19, and I would constantly be in his ear about the reptilians at a very young age, about how these things are manipulating us. So, and the older I've gotten, I've tried to keep that balance. Mushrooms actually weirdly does help. It gives me a reset of my brain. But it is a hard battle to face, and especially when there's people within my family and stuff that are just not getting it. And I'm like, well, my brain wants to explode.
Well, my whole family in England, they've drank Kool-Aid, they've done all this stuff, and they just don't get me. But luckily they're 4,500 miles away, so we're good to go, and I just phone them, I remember my father said, we've got a problem with global warming. I said, what's that? And he goes, well, cows passing wind creating global warming. Oh, so cows farting is creating global warming. He said, yeah. I said, we fixed it here. He goes, how did you fix it? I said, well, they're giving them tum-tums, settle the stomach, no farting. We're good to go.
That's funny. I like that.
Oh, it's really funny. But bless his heart, you know, and he, I'm going to write to my member of parliament and tell him, give him tum-tums, you know. So it's just bizarre, you know, some of the stuff that people absorb. But
I agree.
Yeah, so, you know, we're in a world, you know, if you're a starseed, you know, how do you know you're a starseed? You don't fit in. You don't resonate with people very much because you're different. Because how many people, you know, do I get? And they have a, you know, brand new person, you know, they have a healing session. And they say, well, I think God dropped me off at the wrong planet. No, you volunteered. I don't know what to tell you. So, you know, what you got to do is release all that emotion, take your power back and use your discernment. You know, I always encourage people, you are your own guru. All this guru nonsense, like, you know, wherever, it's history, gone, you know, nonsense. You are your own guru. All you got to do really is take your power back by releasing all the emotion, because the thing is about starseeds is you're a massive empath. I remember when I was 20 odd, a couple of years ago, and you're supposed to laugh.
Yeah.
And you know,
I was so intrigued. I'm so intrigued because I'm like, because it's fascinating to me because I've only talked to a few select people. Like we make dark humor and jokes, and I just research all the time. But to talk to someone like you that has had all these like strange experiences that most people would like throw to the wind and call you a nutter and all that stuff, right? And I've been called the same about the experiences I've had of the dark entities that I think I've perceived, and the Ouija boards and how I view reality. And a lot of people just throw it to the wind because they don't understand it. You know, what you call crazy is something you don't understand. I don't understand that person, so they're fucking crazy. And that's the stuff that I don't like. And people they will believe everything their government says, some entity power that only is there and exists to oppress them. But then normal people that are having the weird experiences like, it's crazy. But yet how is this guy in Peru having the same experience as this guy in Brazil and this guy in China and this guy in Australia all having these weird same experiences, you know, even to do with aliens or anything, shadow people? It's bizarre.
I remember going to the New Life Expo in New York. It's quite a big one. And I had about 200 people in the room. This lady was sitting in the front, and I was talking about entities. Well, you're just getting us to focus on entities, and they're going to attach to us, you know. And I don't agree with that. I said, no. I'm educating you on what they do to your body, and if you want to listen, great. If you don't, that's okay. Leave. I don't mind. But I said, before you leave, you've got an attachment. It's an entity. It's been there for a long time. So if you want to stay and get it removed, that's great. And she stopped, you know, and she's quiet after that. But, you know, people think, you know, this love and light stuff, you know, this new age, like love and light. And, you know, if I love and light, then nothing's going to happen. Oh, it will, you know, because these things are very crafty. Once they're attached to you, they're attached to you for good until you remove them. And I would say 99.9% people who come for a healing have got some sort of attachment, whether it's Anunnaki, Draconian, whether it's Archons, whether it's snake-type beings, or whether the worst one is Luciferians, because they're very snarly. I think that's the one that when Jesus took entities out of people, you know, they can talk your body, or they speak through your voice box in a cackly, snarly, raspy voice, you know. So, but when you got your power back,
what would you describe Luciferians as compared to the reptilians?
They're reptilian.
I know Archons are similar, right? But they're not reptilian beings. Am I correct?
Well, Archons are energetic, and they float through the second, third, and fourth dimension. Anunnaki and Draconians, but they float between the fourth and the third dimension. They can actually appear, of course. They can shapeshift into this dimension as an actual human being. I actually went out with a girlfriend who was reptilian. It was really interesting because she was really like mean, you know. And one night I was sitting there on the sofa, and why, you know, I was thinking to myself, why are you so mean? So I did a prayer, you know, a map of intent, and I grounded myself and said, okay, I am of God. I ground myself to the earth. Dear God, I command you, show this person in their true form. And a reptilian overlay, what happens is you get like an opaque reptilian come over the human body because they can't hide from that. And oh my God, she's reptilian. Next day, when she went to work, I put all my stuff in a bag, gone.
I got chills for that. It is because it's according to the stuff I read. Do you subscribe to the idea that like there is they need the human blood, like the adrenochrome to withstand? Because I've heard they have to like stay within this frequency, and they actually need this energetic blood that most times comes from children. And do you believe that is because I've heard that that's how they stay here, and able to like influence these bloodlines and stuff. Like the
Oh yeah, otherwise they can drift out of it. If they get the adrenochrome blood, which is obviously adrenaline, torture somebody, get the blood, then of course they drink it, and they it grounds them in this dimension for sure. I mean, there's so many reptilians. People think it's interesting because people think, oh my God, it's the government. Da, da, da. Oh, the big problem is right under the planet. These reptilians live under the planet. I don't know.
Yeah, because I've heard there's the ones from Draco's Ocanis, which is the star system in the Orion's belt, and then there's the ones that have been inhabiting this planet for eons. Do you believe, like humans, that there is good and bad reptilians, or are they just mainly focused on the service to self, not service to others, as like the law of one teaches? Do you think that they're kind of is there any good positive entities that are reptilians? Are they like humans where there can be good and bad, or are we just good and bad and we have to find that balance of good?
No, there are good reptilians. There's a minority, but like Anunnaki, there's some good Anunnaki who've redeemed themselves and want to actually fix things. Draconians, not so much. Luciferians, not so much. What
do Luciferians look like? Like, have you personally experienced seeing any?
Yeah, they're kind of reptilian with red eyes, and they have wings. So, I've seen them. They're connected, of course, to the Vatican. That tells you everything you need to know. So, but they always have red eyes, but they can actually set stuff on fire. I've had people who have had one round, and suddenly they appear, and their car goes on fire, and things like this. It's crazy stuff.
So, have you had your own alien abduction? Like, have you experienced it?
Well, because they haven't ever taken me and abducted me.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the Greys. But I have been on ships because I actually chair the Galactic Federation with two other Melchizedek beings, and so. For example, take 2000 and I think it was 2017 when I became an American citizen. There was a problem with the Greys, the Grey Reticular. They were abducting people, of course. They've been doing it for many years.
Yeah, we did a whole
and it was
2-hour episode.
Time to have a meeting. Yeah. So they took me off, and it's funny because I always remember that meeting. Normally, if you're going for a Galactic Federation meeting, they give you like 5 minutes notice so you can lay on the bed and then soul's gone, and then you're just completely like not there. You're in a coma until your soul comes back. But at this day, they took us out really quick, and I didn't get to the bed, so I was kind of collapsed on the floor and was going, "Oh my God, he's had a stroke." Well, hang on a minute. Has he gone to? Oh, he's gone to the Galactic Federation. That's okay. So I was laying there for about 10 minutes, and of course, 10 minutes of this time is like 2 days of that time.
Yeah. Time doesn't exist.
And I remember being there. There's a lot of beings, and we were talking about violation education. Now, going back to the reptilians, if you know before you get here that you're going to get attachments, is that a violation? No, it's an education, and you've got to learn how to remove them, keep them out, get your vibration up, etc. Now, with the Greys, if the government sign a contract that you can go and pick anyone up in the station and steal their body parts, like sperm, eggs, to create humanoids, is that a violation? Of course it is. So they were actually taken off the planet. So it was swept off in 2017 by the Arcturians. But what happened?
Weird. I did hear that. That's bizarre because I've heard that before.
Well, they're cheeky though, because they're still coming back. How did they get back? They were banned from this time space. So how do they get around that? Well, what they're doing is using portals in people's houses. So they're in the same space but different times. So they've got over the ban. So I call them cheeky blighters. That's an English term.
I think some people call that's the one that everyone knows of, right? Is the dark-eyed, and we talked about this on the
big eyes
episode. Well, because we said are they? Because there's obviously theories that they're future human beings or they're animatronic, kind of like cyborgs and stuff like that. And we kind of went through the whole idea of what they are and what they could be. I would like an explanation from you, because I lean towards the more that they're probably kind of soulless beings, but everything has life, right? So everything has energy. So are they like animatronic, or are they real beings? Because there's people that believe that they're like also wearing a suit. Like there's so many different theories that I'd kind of like to hear your take on the Greys and who they really are.
Well, what they've done is, of course, they destroyed their planet. So over a period of time, they got into AI and all this sort of thing. And so, like we are, they took away the ability to reproduce, and they had nuclear wars. And of course, like we are. So the whole thing. So then you stop with, our race is going to die out unless we do something. So, let's go and steal body bits and see if we can, reproduce, and get because of course they lost all their emotions. Well, like we are, all this stuff, all the things, pornography sites, doing gaming sites, everything is there to actually desensitize you, so that to me, communion with a woman, or your wife, whatever, is supposed to be a God sacred thing, and people don't view it that way. That let's have a jump, let's do this. So and little by little, we're going down the same path. Hopefully, it'll all change. Well, I know it'll all change. It's going to change because we're going to make it change. But in the meantime, these things. So they're a biological being, but they've got a soul, but the sense of love and everything else has all been shut down, and the ability to reproduce. So now what they're trying to do is use the human being to get their DNA enough that they can get all that back, and so that's why they were stealing body bits. And what's interesting as well is I have these portals open, people go, there's a stink in my kitchen. I've had the plumber, that would be these beings that comes through the portal, because these things don't wash. Anunnaki the same. So if you've ever got a portal in your house, you can tell by the smell, because it smells like gone off drain. And it's happened a number of times. As soon as you shut the portal, smell's gone. So
can you give us any insight of how to correctly shut down the portal? Like there is, I don't know. I feel like on the property I live on, there's probably some weird stuff. I haven't touched my Ouija boards in years, but I still have them. I have 3 of them that I collected over years from different people, and I haven't used them. Nor do I think I really ever want to touch one again. But realistically, we probably would for the show if need be. But I also believe that you can shut down that by banishing whatever comes out. And I want to also add, there's kind of 3 questions in one. Is there a way to actually kind of shut down these portals that may kind of open up? And then do you think that the Ouija board is good or bad? Can you make it a tool to be used as something good to contact beings, or do you think it's always going to be manipulated?
Well, let's go with the Ouija board. I think it's an instrument that could be used for good or bad, depending on whether you know what you're doing. So how do you use a Ouija board? What you need to do is protect yourself. And before you use a Ouija board, what I do is we've got a map of intents or prayer here. There's a prayer in here called the 27 Esoteric Merkabah Field prayer. If you put that around you and the Ouija board, so how does it go? You kind of say, I am of God, I ground myself to the earth. Dear God, I command we create 27 esoteric Merkabah fields around me and the Ouija board to protect me from any negative entities, fractals thereof, manipulations, and transmissional frequencies that are not for my highest good through all space-time continuum in every dimension. If you do that before the Ouija board, no dark entities can get in because it's a high vibrational field. And that lasts about
we used to do something called, we do air, fire, water, earth, elements of the astral birth. I call upon whatever the name of the person that is dead you want to call upon. Only good may enter, only good may leave by powers 3 times 3. It was kind of the same thing where we did have a chant that a friend taught me when I was very young, like 12. And I don't know how he even learned this stuff, but he was older than me, and it's kind of the same intent, but your sound's more ironed out, that like we're like blocking everything.
Well, yeah, blocking everything, because what happens is, if you find something out and someone starts doing something, if you get any feel, oh God, the thing's moving, the reptilians will ride in on that fear and they'll start manipulating. The things about reptilians, it's interesting. I would say 97-8% of people who do readings are manipulating. They don't even know it. Why is that? Because what happens is they connect to a reptilian. So, you're asking questions to that reader, and you say, well, what should I be doing? Oh, you should be doing your podcast. You're doing amazing. You're on God's path. And And so, oh, well, great, I'm doing that. And, you married your wife, they'll tell you some things that are truth. Then they come with a big lie, like, well, you should be in France. You need to go, I see you in a house with a pink roof, red doors and green garage door, or some stupid thing. And what's going to happen is you're going to manipulate our people, because that person will go to France. They'll find that house because some crazy person has, put all the colours outside the house. Yeah. I've done it. Yeah, I'm on the right path, when actually you've been manipulated. So it's so important, if a leader's there, and I encourage all leaders to say this to your channel: are you of God? If you don't get an answer, then they're not of God. So move them on, so, okay, command you leave. If you say, are you of God? And they say, yes, I am of God, of course. Then, you've got, no entity who's dark is going to say, I am of God. They can't, because it's against the universal rules. So they'll just say nothing. They're not going to say
like
no
the
either.
karmatic rules. Like this is what I understand about our reality, is that if we give our consent even without our actual knowledge. So the idea of, like, say, the World Economic Forum and the governments and all these agencies and entities or whatever that are controlling all these people, if they put everything out there, show you what they're going to do, and lay it out and be like, well, this is our plan for this and this and that. You're going to eat bugs. You're going to be unhappy. All this stuff. And then if we don't do anything about it, it's kind of like our consent. And I've heard that that's the way that the reptilians or some entities are able to kind of come into our lives and manipulate us, is because we're not being aware of our surroundings, so to speak.
Well, exactly. And I think you've got to remember, all these reptilians, the reptilians are controlled. Don't even think the government's in control. They're just puppets. All these people 100%. In government, they're just like, nonsense. And the reptilian hybrids, the people in control are under the planet. So you're going against some very powerful beings, but we're powerful ourselves. And that's why once every 120 days, we do a God ritual. What's that? And we get like 200, 300, 400 people on it, off-planet beings as well, a ton of them. And we do this God ritual. What does it mean? Well, what we do is, call out all the big tech, big pharma, manipulation, governmental system, deep state military, whatever, all these beings, Facebook, YouTube, call them all out. And what we do is bring them before God for justice in only the way God knows how, and release them to God with unconditional love and forgiveness. It's a very powerful exercise. And from that, that's a map of intent. And then what we do is say, okay, dear God, I command we reinstate it every day for the next 120 days. So that's getting reinstated. And that starts to break the deep state and, the evil people's, like, satanic rituals down. And it's really helped, I think, so if anyone wants to join that,
I would love to tune into that and try to do it, even if if you do it online somehow, where I can kind of help or do anything. I would love to kind of get more involved in some of this stuff. And this is what I've kind of learned, is like attention goes, or like the intent is something that you need to focus on. And it is fascinating considering like what's happening. Like the another word for apocalypse could mean revealing and unveiling. And you see how everyone, like the whole world, seems to be on fire. Like it not metaphorically on fire. All these things are happening. There's so many wars going on, and death and corruption and destruction, and people are all in a panic more than ever in the past, I feel like 5 years. Like it's always been bad, and it's always kind of came and gone. But I feel like now recently, because people are starting to wake up at the rate that they are, that now the powers to be are being revealed for who they are. Hollywood is now getting exposed more than ever, all that stuff. And do you feel like that is a part of it, that we have to come face to face with this evil to actually fight against it?
Oh, yeah, and I think it needs exposing as well. Someone asked me, it's never been as bad as it has now. Well, it's been bad for many, decades. It's just that people didn't know about it, and now it's coming to light. People go, oh, my goodness, I can't believe there's child trafficking. I can't believe there's all this satanic stuff. I can't believe Hollywood. I can't believe that they drink, blood that's from a tortured child.
Most people think that's crazy. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
I've seen some weird stuff.
I can't believe there's chemtrails,
Yeah.
Chemtrails are making us sick.
I can't stop mentioning it, because like I'm out for a nice day as soon as, especially in Canada, and like I'm like an hour and a half from Toronto, so they bombard us with stuff. Luckily, I'm in a small town. Like we have forest trees all around us. It's nice. But realistically, it's hard not to see. As soon as it's a nice day out, clear sky, all you see is like these patterns of GMO, like the chemtrails, and then not to mention GMOs, but like all that stuff that is constantly bombarding our nervous system, our health, and people don't want to look up. They're all focused on their phones, and even I'm a victim of it.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking up. The other day, I mean, went over our property down there. There was such a thick one. Wow, this is nuts, But again, we've got a prayer to remove chemtrails. Again, map of intent. If you say the prayer and look at the chemtrail, it's gone. And also food. People say, well, they're putting nanotech and all this stuff in food. Well, again, power of map of intent. You can actually remove that. And we've got a food prayer in here. It's basically just so, dear God, I command you remove any modifications that are not godlike, optimize the vibration of food, and bless the souls of the animals and the plants that allowed our body nutrition. We thank you, God. That food will taste completely different.
And you really I don't think people realize.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've demonstrated it. I went to a place and I was doing a demonstration. There's about 150 people in there. So I'm going to do a demonstration. So we've got some strawberries. I'm not going to tell you where they're from. We've got strawberries A and we've got strawberries B. Now, I've revibrated strawberries B. They're all the same. They came from Walmart. Disgusting, horrible stuff. But anyway. So anyway, right, let's send A round. What do you think? Oh, they're sour. I said, right, try B. Try strawberries B. Oh, my God, they taste different. I said, so what's the difference? And they said, well, they must be from different stores. I said, no, they're from Walmart. Oh, my God. So what do you do to them? I said, map of intent. I said a prayer over them. It completely revibrated and got them back to where they should be, and they were absolutely delicious. So yeah,
because it's really kind of like it's reminiscent in some terms of like kind of chaos magic. The idea of like using your intention to manipulate your surroundings, or kind of because most people do, like they do this in like religion. Like I have a couple friends that are Christian. They keep trying to pull me in, and I'm like, I'm not going to be part of your cult. Okay, I believe that all religions were created to divide and conquer, but the root of the moral and ethics in most religions are pretty on. Like the 10 Commandments make sense. Don't fuck your neighbor's wife. Don't kill somebody. Don't steal from people. And it's funny because you see that people don't want to acknowledge it. And once, especially religious people, I do believe put themselves into a box. And then they can't kind of get out that box because of one book, where I keep pushing my friends to be like, all of this stuff is based on ancient texts, like stuff that goes far beyond what we understand as the Bible.
And they also missed a lot of the scriptures out, like, 100%. Jesus, Macklin, I mean, they actually went, he never died on the cross. They took him down before he died. They went to France to a place called Tarot, and they actually developed the tarot cards. So they were the first, they were Melchizedek cards. But the other thing that's interesting, picking on, Christianity, is the satanic ritual they do every Sunday is communion. Why is that? Yeah. Well, drinking the blood of Jesus, eating his flesh is satanic, and the people say, oh, no, it's not, it's because of the new covenant. Okay, research the new covenant. It goes straight back to the Vatican. It's all about sacrifice. And God doesn't want to sacrifice. God loves us without condition, unconditionally. Therefore,
and I've heard that
it's all about service to others.
And if you trace a lot of Christianity back, it's like it goes back to snake worship. Like a lot of people don't realize how deep this goes. And I I have friends that are like deep rooted in this stuff, and I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I've read so many books. You've read one book. That's how I've read so much stuff into this. That I'm like, there's something going on. I believe to have peace and love in your heart. And I believe, I've said, I believe that there could be some sort of omnipotent being that is like a God. And I believe in energy. And most times, like I always talk about like praying to my higher self, of talking to the person that is above this reality and my guides and stuff like that, of people that either existed here, or I've always had this feeling my entire life that I was different, that I thought differently, that I was different. And that's why it's bizarre. And I would look up at the stars, and that's why I want to hear your take on kind of this stuff, is because now the people are like, oh, the earth is flat. I've spent my whole life staring up at stars, seeing them move, seeing weird things happen. I used to smoke cigarettes, and I'd write music. I've created music for a long time. And I would just like observe and think while I stood up at those, like stood and watched those stars. And I resonated. Everything that moved, I felt like it was connecting to me. me, I would see UFOs bob. Like that's why I describe it. It looked like a bobber when you're fishing in water, just kind of going up and down. And then I would think about it, and I would be like, "Go up and down if you can hear my thoughts or whatever." And I'd see it go up and down. I was like, "Go side to side if you can hear me," kind of thing. And I've had this happen, and then I'm never sure it's my own mind doing this. And I'd like to kind of hear your own take on that, because
they listen to you. I'll give you an example. It's really interesting. So I went to a ranch, and it was in Arizona, and he was having problems with the grey reticula. What were they doing? Well, it was a horse sanctuary. So what happened is that one morning he'd wake up and one of his horses was half eaten. It was just dismembered and half eaten. And he was really upset about it. So I went out there. It took me about 48 hours. And he said, "Oh, a portal opens and then these things come through." Da, da, da. So anyway, I spent 48 hours and eventually I got the portal open. There was a sonic boom. But it normally opened at a ground level, but this opened at about 300 or 400 feet up, so I couldn't reach it. And I think as soon as it opened, this craft just appeared, like, and there were Arcturians. And there was three, they went 3 to 1 and 3 to 1. 5 minutes later, the military turned up with helicopters, circling wide, but circling around them, thinking, what the hell do we do with these? And I said to them, telepathy, I said, "What are you guys doing here? We're your watchers." And I said, "Okay, that goes back to Enoch. We're your watchers to make sure you don't do stupid stuff, because," and they were making sure that the portal was like 300 feet, so I didn't walk through it because, if you go through a portal, trying to get back is a bit of a problem sometimes. So anyway, they stayed there. I got the code to the portal. I shut it down completely about 40 minutes later. And suddenly, these craft just left, and then military helicopters just disappeared and good to go. And they're only about a mile away. So you can, they could read your thoughts for sure, And in fact, we used to use telepathy,
Do you? I believe that, actually, and there would be no lies, which they need to feed us lies. To everyone has their own secrets in some regard and stuff like that. Is there a basic way you could kind of describe how you would shut down these portals?
That one was pretty complex, but again, maps of intent. If you've got a portal in your house, just focus on it, where it is, because you can smell it, the horrible drain smell.
Pick it up, yeah.
And just say, ground yourself. I am of God. I ground myself. Dear God, I command we close this portal and, remove it and send it back to God with unconditional love and forgiveness. That's all you have to do.
Intention. It is weird too.
But say it, you can't say it like a powerless victim. Yeah. You got to put that power behind it. Yeah. I command we get rid of it right now.
And you gotta truly believe it. You gotta truly believe it. This is why it comes to some of the religions and stuff like that I think that they truly believe it. Like I've always thought that, like, especially with some religions, you go to church and you're praying for your grandma that has cancer or someone who has died or whatever. And then, in my opinion, and even when it comes to the steeple of the church, it seems like there could be entities, reptilians or darker entities that could exhume that energy, could use that energy of people constantly going to a place of worship to give them to forgive their sins. And you're talking to some, pope, or some bishop or some preacher that probably has done his own horrible shit in a confession booth. And then, as you confess this stuff, these darker entities are consuming that energy at the same time.
Oh yeah, they love the loose, And I think, to me, it's about taking your power back. I mean, it's like Christianity again. I'm not trying to pick on it, but if you look at communion, there's a creed saying basically, we are not so worthy as to gather up the crumbs under thy table. Now, if Jesus was sitting here and we're having a party, he'd be making wine, producing wine, having tons of food, and he wouldn't say, "Oh, get on your knees." He's not that sort of guy. He was amazing. So it's really interesting that they perceive him like he's that all-powerful being. He's just here to help.
And that's what I say. So we're doing. We're in the next couple weeks. We're doing the Book of Revelations episode, and I'm doing my friend that is a Christian and stuff like that. And I joked with him that I have a hippie wig that I wore for a Halloween episode. I said I was going to dress up like Jesus, and he's like, "Please don't do that. Like, you're mocking him." And I was like, "Why would it be mocking the best form of is intimidating, not intimidating, kind of like replicating what these people are and stuff like that." And we do a lot of humor-based stuff on here, joking around, right? So I was like, it will be a joke kind of thing. And in my opinion,
supposed to be a laugh.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I think if he existed the way that we understand him, or at least as like you understand to be, I was like, I think he would find solace in the fact that I was having some sort of recognition of being like, if this is what we think that we perceived he looked like. But as far as I'm concerned, his name wasn't even Jesus from what we understand. It was Yehoshua, Ben Joseph. And a lot of people have supposedly mixed up that name, and I would like to hear your opinions on this stuff too, because I've read a lot in this stuff, and that it's not even his correct name, that his name was essentially Yehoshua. And then they somehow translate into Jesus way later on. So, I was just making a joke about doing that for the show, and I was like, oh, I'll do stigmata. And I was kidding, right? I'm kidding around. Because everything I do is just to bring a light to even some of these weird things, right? Making jokes and things like...
Well, if you think about the times he was there, I always say Jesus was an old tippler because, the water was really bad then. So if he converted water to wine, obviously drinking wine a lot, and he must have got pretty tippled up, So, I mean, listen, what's good for him is good for us, and we're good to go.
And that's why I've always said to people that, like,
that's
questioning
true,
stuff. I feel like that's a soul, a conscious energy like Yehoshua or Jesus, that he would appreciate the idea that someone does question everything, and I don't think you would be in trouble in my eyes of being like that just by questioning. Like, hey, I don't know if you existed. I don't know if you were Mithra. I don't know if you were Horus and all these other entities that also existed before Jesus. Or I've always said, is he a reincarnation of these other entities, or are they different? I'd like to kind of hear your take on that.
Well, I mean, to me, Jesus was a starseed. His actual name off planet is Yahshua Sananda Melchizedek. He was a Melchizedek being.
Can you describe what they were? They more like human looking, or like because you've had obviously contact with the Melchizedek. Is that I'm saying it right?
Yeah. I mean, I was actually born a Melchizedek being, and what's interesting, some starseeds, like for example, if you take Arcturians, Melchizedek, some of them, they have to implant you implant the body with enough DNA of that species to get the soul in, because you've got to have the soul in connection with the DNA, so it's compatible. Now, other races like Palladians and Andromedans, you don't necessarily do. So it depends on the race. If you're a starseed, it depends whether my mother was abducted to get me down here. So. It's interesting.
Have you ever, like, even psychically, ever like made contact with them?
Mother Mary.
Describe them.
Well, don't forget, when they're off planet, they don't have a human form. So, I talk to Mother Mary a lot because she's the mother of the Melchizedek beings down here now, who are here, and there's 5 of us. And so, to do some stuff. And I talk to them all the time. Enoch, same, Melchizedek being. The keys of Enoch is the keys of the universe, So there's about 6 keys. Like, for example, they can't do anything without showing you, what they're going to do. So they make a film, or they create it in The Simpsons or something, so that they've shown you enough that they get over that rule, and there's also other rules of the universe, I've heard. Yeah, there's a lot.
So, and it's fascinating. So I've even on, it was interesting, and I want to hear your take on this story. So I was on a pretty high dose of mushrooms, and I was watching, what's his name? I was watching Elvis for a bit, and that weirded me out. And James Brown. I was watching James Brown, sing, and it just popped in. A lot of weird stuff like pops on your YouTube for some reason when I'm on mushrooms. I found weird music. There's just weird circumstances that happen, and I've learned a lot of lessons from it. And I was like, there's something weird about him. I was watching one of his interviews where he's like very much on drugs, but and I could see him like shifting. It was so weird to me. I could see that he was shifting, and I saw his like skin change and like this weird things. And it's older footage, and I was like, that guy's a reptilian. I was like, for sure. Like, my wife was upstairs just getting ready, and I was like, that guy's a reptilian for sure. He's something's happening. And I was like, I'm getting this weird feeling. Like, and I've done psychedelics, like it was specifically psilocybin many, many, many times. I know how to handle it. I know what it does to me. I know when things kind of get a little weird, like when it's not normal, quote unquote. And I just felt weird. I felt like this weird feeling. Then my TV shut off, and it was still playing some weird shit that wasn't the music or the interview through the speakers. And then I turned on the TV, everything was frozen, and still this sound was coming through, and then the TV is shut off again. And I was like, I went to the wife as she's upstairs, like, something really weird just happened. And I felt like, and I've thought this before on psychedelics, I was like, are you aware? Are you around me? And you see fractals, people call them when you're on psychedelics, especially mushrooms. And I've swore that I've looked through them and seen like a being like look at me, and I've been aware. I've told them to get out of my space, but I feel like I can see, kind of be able to see them when I'm on mushrooms. It's frightening.
Yeah, I mean, I can, and it's interesting because I can switch to, seeing beings attached to people, I can switch it on or off because I can tune my eyes out. So, I don't want to see that because, for example, if you go to a restaurant and you've got 100 odd people in and like 80 has got attachments, you don't really. And the reptilians look at it and snarl at you sometimes. I don't, so I switch it off so you can't see it. And I can do that, I think, because my energy and my vibration's high enough that I can see through the veil.
Well, there was a fascinating interview, and I've listened to. It's crazy because I listened to it like 2 or 3 times. I don't even think it exists on YouTube anymore. But all I remember, it was like it's supposed to be an interview with a reptilian. Her name was Lacerta, something like that, and it was transcribed from somebody who supposedly actually met a real reptilian and then got a. Who knows if it's actually factual or what? But the person was claiming that, and they gave all this evidence and all these weird experiences. And I've always thought, like, it had to be a pretty good story. If they were making it up, because she said that within a room of 100, she could essentially, it's about manipulating people's consciousness. So to everyone, she would look this beautiful brown-haired lady, and the more people, the better, because it's easier to manipulate. But when it comes to a physical, like just being one-on-one with someone, it gets a lot harder. And because she showed the guy that was interviewing her true form, he asked her, "Would you be able to do this to me right now?" And she was like, "No, because I would essentially I'd break your brain. Like you wouldn't, because now that you've seen me in the true form, it's like seeing some of those subliminal messages where it's like the 3 flowers, you see them, and it's like one, and then between the 3 flowers it says sex, and then once you've seen that word, you can't unsee it." Because is that the way it works? Because they're kind of manipulating us in that. Like,
yeah. Well, the thing is, some of the national parks, the military gone in, especially with the draconians, to try and take them out. And what's happened is that they've been mutilated because the power of the mind. They can say, "All right, drop your gun." They just drop the weapons. You've got to have, with these reptilians, you've got to have a really strong mind. Really focused. And a lot of people don't. They can have, but they don't. Because they've been. Again, it's been
conditioning. It's
been chipped and conditioned away, to be powerless, and it's time for us to get out of this powerless victim and take our power back. That's so important.
As we kind of bring this to a close, I want you to kind of tell the audience what you think we can do, and what are some of the positives that you believe are coming, and is there? I just want kind of like some words of wisdom, if you have any, kind of for the audience, and kind of what we should do as individuals to kind of help this this progress and the progress of us getting to a higher consciousness. Because I believe at some point, like my Christian friends think there's going to be some sort of rapture. Everyone's concerned about April 8th, all the stuff that's kind of going on. And I think the time this releases, it'll be just after that. But everyone's like living in this fear, even myself at some points, where I'm the Canadian government is absurd in the way what they're doing to their citizens. And so I want to hear some words of wisdom. I need some at this point.
Well, first of all, let's look at the rapture. How bad can it be? Well, there's going to be some stupid stuff, You might get the, aliens inside each country, illegal aliens doing stupid stuff. And you're going to get something, For me, I think you're better off staying out of big cities, move to country.
I agree.
I think, get in your own bubble, and find some joy in everything every day, because you can. Let's treat ourselves to a steak tonight. I'm going to have a baked potato, whatever hits the spot, or let's make some spaghetti bolognese or something. Have a glass of wine. It's okay. People say, "Oh, I'm super spiritual. I don't smoke, don't drink, don't have sex, don't do." Well, what the heck do you do? Because you know what? you got to have some fun while you're down here.
I agree. It's an experience. It's
all an experience. You know, I mean, we've all done stupid stuff in the past. You know, including me. I'm including all the listeners, I'm sure, here.
Everyone has. And that's
okay.
what I'm always like, you know, everyone can make mistakes. Like, I believe, like, don't hurt anybody else. But at the same time, like, I like the idea of, like, you know, if you're hurting somebody else, you're hurting yourself, because we are all kind of connected in this consciousness. And that at the end of the day, we all know each other, in my eyes, beyond this. And that, you know, there is a lot of people confused. There's a lot of people going on. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And I know that, you know, I want to hear your parting words, but I know there's more that we could touch upon at some point, because I know you can go into the transgenders and stuff, a lot of the crazy stuff that is going on in the world.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, personally, I think now the other thing about it is the rapture. So what could it be? Well, it could be the illegal aliens doing stupid stuff, stay out of big cities. Could be nuclear, you know. To me, you know, I've talked to the Arcturians. They're actually in control of disabling these things. So if they try and set them off, they'll be disabled. You'll never get a nuclear bomb happening on this planet, unless they do a controlled event which won't harm anybody. So you know, you need to put the nuclear stuff out of your mind. It's okay. You know, just focus on, okay, so let's stay out of big cities. Let's just do our stuff. Let's have a laugh. You know, let's do all the things. And the other biggest thing for me you can ever do is find that burning passion that gives you the reason to get out of bed in the morning. You know, like, I love this healing. I think it's great. I love coming on podcasts. I love sharing with people, because as you're doing that, you know, service to others, you're getting them empowered to do something themselves. But everyone's got a gift from God. Everybody. It's just, well, I don't know what mine is. Well, what happens if it's chefing, like you did, Tom? You know, I mean, am I a chef? No. I can cook, but I'd have to be phoning you up saying, Tom, like, can you give me a recipe? Because you know, all these things, like, you got 5 ingredients, make something delicious. So I don't know, you know, but I can cook really well, you know, and you know, or if it's painting, I mean, painting is healing. If you're incredible at painting, the energy on that canvas is huge. You know, it's all about energy. So you look at it, wow, and it gives you so much joy, you know, whether it's sculpting,
I've been very brained. Like, I can draw fairly well. I used to draw, like, things like, I wish I could show you, but I had a drawing where it's like the Greys and the Reptilians, and then I had the I think Pope John Paul II, I think, and I had him as like a reptilian, and like the pyramids. Like, I used to draw stuff like this all the time. But I've always been right-brained, where I create music. Like, I have a song that I just released called Conspiracy Theory, where I talk about the manipulation of the weather and GMOs and chemtrails and all that stuff, because I've always liked music. I used to be in a metal band and stuff like that, but I found that hip-hop, I was able to get a lot done in 3 minutes. I was able to explain a lot with poetry, more than a couple choruses with normal metal, rock, any of those stuff. For hip-hop always gave me the ability, and music woke me up to the idea that there's stuff going on, because once you start, the mainstream stuff is always to manipulate you and to
I mean, music's finished. I mean, after about 1980, music to me is just, I mean, it's a waste of time. But there's a lot of bands that do love, like Kansas. I love Boston, you know. There's many, you know, and you know, we actually sit out on the patio sometimes. We bought a big speaker for outside, you know, it's a Sony speaker. Awesome. We love music, and you can have a tipple, and you know, you can have a laugh, and I love music all the time. You know, I love being amongst nature. We've got to get all back to that.
The more psychedelic, well, the more psilocybin I use, the more that I go back to the 60s, where I'm just like, you know, coming in tuned with that, like 60s, 70s vibes. You know, like, I love the Animals, you know, the Beatles. And we just did an episode about the Beatles. I love the Beatles, but how they could have been the creation of the Illuminati to push the free love communist idea. So I think it goes pretty deep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What are some parting words? Because we'll bring this to a close. I know you're a busy man, but I had a lot of fun. My brain was intrigued the entire time. I got weird feelings.
Well, I always have a little mantra, and it goes, well, it's a affirmation, really. And it goes like this. It says, I am divine love of wisdom. I want people to write it down and say it every day. Yeah. I am divine love of wisdom. I am worthy of all the abundance God has in store for me. Full stop. There is no doubt.
I love that. I love that. And I want to tell everybody where to find you, to where to get your book. I'm actually interested in the book that you have, the one with all the prayers and stuff like that. I would actually like to get that. So I want you to tell everybody where to find everything that, you know.
Yeah. If you go to the website globalenlightenmentproject.com, and, you know, we could do one-to-one sessions. We can do specialized groups where we have up to 20 people. We speak to everyone, and then we do the healing. And then we've got twice a week. It used to be 3 times a week, but to be honest, Tom, it's become a lot, you know, so I've had to cut it down. But twice a week, Thursday, 5 p.m. Central Time, Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time, I do a healing for an hour. It covers most things. And come on that, it's by donation. You know, if you don't have any money, please come on it. Because look, I've been in a place where I was living out of a car for a few years, and I had no money for food for 21 days, 10 days. I know what it's like. You know, I've been there, got the t-shirt. So I always want to make, because it's a charity, I always want to make sure that everybody gets a healing. And
I would
and of course,
100% join on that. That's awesome.
bless your heart. Yeah. So please come, and, you know, and the other thing about it, sometimes you need help. I'm a facilitator to get you back to your guru self. I don't want to be a guru, you know. Can I teach things? Of course I can, but I want to get people back to their guru self, take their power back, so they can help more people. Because, by goodness, this planet needs a bit of help right now.
I agree. Everyone is so aware of what's going on, and honestly, can I be honest? I needed this. I've been in a dark place the last couple of weeks of just constantly researching. My country's collapsing from the inside out. It seems like my prime minister is some evil, coked up reptilian creature, in my opinion. I think that he's connected to some very dark things, including serial killers, all sorts of stuff that I've researched and believe that they have connections to communism. And it weighs on me to constantly be looking into this stuff. And I feel like you were like a breath of fresh air, and that somehow you kind of, that email that came, and we like I said, we don't normally do guests on this show. It's very rare. Like mostly I do with my co-host, where we talk about some sort of conspiracy subject. So recently I've had a couple emails to have people on, and I saw yours, and I was like, this is fascinating. I have to have this guy on. I want to know more, and that's why I will probably have you back on the show. I'll talk with Dawna. We'll work something.
Yeah,
out,
well, let's do it again, because I'd love to share. Now, I'm here about helping people, and, you know, the more we can help, the better. And it's all about, if you have the understanding, like you were saying, though, sometimes if you go down the rabbit hole and you keep looking at the negative stuff, you know, you've got to also think about the positive stuff. Okay, what's positive about this world? Well, it's an amazing planet. The behaviors on it, you know, with the human race, and of course you got NPCs, you know, non-player characters. You've got all these reptilian hybrids, you know, you name it. But again, stay out of it, because it's not your deal. You know, it's in control. There's enough people looking after what's going to happen to the governmental system, but what about the reptilians underneath? And this is a closing thought. So what's the Pyramid Project for? It's to eradicate the reptilian element on this planet, because it's going to bring off-planet pyramids down here. They're huge. They're made of moldavite, huge. Can't tell you where they are, of course, because the land will be bought up by who you know who. But, you know, one's 999 feet tall, 660.66 feet tall, 333.33 feet tall, all multiples of 3, which is Christ conscious, and they're going to be huge. So it's my job to find the land, 100,000 acres, get them sited, get infrastructure so people can come and see them, and, you know, that's underway. You know,
that's awesome. I'm fascinated.
We can talk more about that next time.
I definitely want to have you back on, because I have so many questions. But for everybody out there, obviously, thank you for supporting the show. Give us 5-star rate and reviews, and thank you again, Dr. Christoper Macklin, for coming on. And everybody out there, stay strange, because this definitely.